Environmental Learning Center Advisory Board, commonly known as CELCAB. And the date is Thursday, May 25th, 2023. And we are meeting for the first time at the Mound House. I'd like to
In a long time.
In a long time, yes. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we can begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Legacy.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You can begin with Jeff with the roll call.
Jeff Hauge, Director of Cultural Parks and Rec.
Congratulations
Thank
on
you
your
so much.
permanent
Thank you.
position.
Very excited and ready to work hard.
Going from Director of Bay Oaks
Yep.
to Interim Director of Cultural Parks and Rec, and now the permanent director. So
That's
amazing
that's what happened.
trajectory after being with the town for what,
A little over a year.
year.
Yeah, so I'm excited for the opportunity and ready to work hard and get things moving forward.
Thank you, Jeff.
Becky, just plain director. Sherry Smith.
Ellen Vaughn.
Barbara Hill.
Lori Wolf.
Jim Adderholt, Town Council.
Thank you all. Thank you, Jim, for being here and being as our cultural liaison. Great to have you here, and I'm so thrilled that we're all here. And I don't know about all of you, but I'm sure everyone is tired and spent and exhausted. No, there's Betty.
Way to go,
She did make
Betty.
it. Well, lovely.
Straight on through.
How about that?
She's making her grand entrance.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
Just in time. So is that Betty's?
Perfect.
Here she is. So
Otherwise,
Got it?
you made it. How wonderful. Come sit here.
Is this your entourage, Ben?
Yeah, we're twins today. So who's taking her home? Me. All right, very good. Tag team.
I love it.
We've been all morning.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right, it's fine. All right.
excuse us, please.
Okay, you're on TV, by the way. You're being recorded.
You're on camera. Yep.
Exactly. Okay. Hi, Carrie.
You have a better hand too.
So let the minutes reflect that Betty Simpson, our vice, no, you're not Betty, it's Sherry.
I'm not
Yes,
vice.
yes, oh, no, has just arrived a few minutes late. We just
I'm
finished with roll
sorry.
call. So Betty
Excuse me.
is definitely part of the meeting. Thank you so much for being here. She had another meeting elsewhere, and we questioned whether she was going to be able to make it, and she did. Okay, so we're going to have the approval of the minutes, and we just received those today. Would you like to take a minute and review them, please?
Yes.
Any thoughts on additions or corrections to the minutes?
I'd move the approval of them.
Okay, thank you,
I'll
Betty.
second.
Second by Lori. All in favor of approving the minutes as presented? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you very much. So, public comment. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in general? Yes.
Hi, my name is Joy Sullivan, and I'm here because I'm very interested in what the plans are for Newton Park. So I don't know if that's part of your agenda, but as someone that frequents the park or used to, love to hear what's going on.
Great. Thank you, Joy. Nice to finally meet you. I think I've seen some of your
Yeah.
Facebook posts, but I really didn't know.
I
So,
was at the board meeting.
Yes, work, yeah.
I remember that.
yes, exactly.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further public comment? None? The staff liaison report, and that, I guess, would be Jeff?
Yes, do have quite a few things happening at the Mound House and continuing to strive to have more events and outreach to get more people here. Want to expose this beautiful property to as many people as we can. So we've been doing a few things, and I'll get to the Newton Park in just a moment. Last month we had a lecture series with 12 people. 15 volunteers, and we had 12 at our volunteer training. To date, we've had 1,214 visitors to Mound House, and that's anywhere from somebody taking a tour to kayak tours to being on the grounds. We've had a lot of people fishing and just enjoying the grounds in general. So that's a good number.
Do we get to count all the council meetings and all the staff meetings and things that are
I think we
here too?
can add
I think we should do that.
visitors, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's the only existing really town property, and it's nice to be able to service such, I think, as a
Agreed.
matter.
Yeah.
I think it's
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I-
It's cool and solid.
Yeah, so I can always put that on the director's report as a kind of a line item of how many
That'd be
people
great.
and we're attending meetings and what advisory board meetings we're gonna have. As a council, I think it was discussed to have a lot of the advisory board meetings here,
Sure.
just to free up Diamond Head a little bit. And we have this nice, lovely, awesome property, and it works to have meetings in this space. So we wanna show it off, and I think this is a beautiful spot for it, for people to visit before and after the meeting as well.
I do have a question though. And this meeting is on Thursday, which is our usual meeting date, but the museum is open today.
It is, so we're just,
So are we gonna change dates, or we just,
we
what's
can
gonna
talk about
happen?
that,
Right.
is doing them on Monday or a Wednesday.
Because if a bunch of people came right now, they'd
Yeah.
be sort of disappointed
They would.
anyway.
Yeah, I've been,
No,
yeah.
I had the same question, Becky. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, we can certainly look at that to accommodate. I know I talked to the other, at our management meeting about when we do these, to try to pick Monday and Wednesday or Friday
Yeah.
as times where we can have meetings, since we won't interrupt
Yeah.
the actual
I
day-to-day
think that'd be
operations.
good.
That's what the Friends have chosen to move our board
Yeah.
meetings from Thursdays to
To
Wednesdays, so
Wednesdays.
we can meet here.
Yeah, but,
Yeah, so we can certainly do
yeah,
that.
and I've been docenting, is that a word?
Yeah, it is now.
Works now.
On Thursdays, and what we did today kind of was that at 3 o'clock, it was like, we'll give you a voucher if you wanna come back.
And that's,
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we'll,
So,
Yeah,
you
let's-
know,
yeah, that was
it's
one
kind
thing,
of up to,
that was one thing to talk about with this and CELCAB, to have them not on Tuesdays or Thursdays.
mhm.
So, yes, thank you for that. Just,
Jeff, could I just, or Madam Chair, just for the record, since this is our first time filming this CELCAB meeting here, can we ask Adam to explain to the public what this room is that we're in?
yes.
Just for the record? I
Absolutely.
didn't want to put you on the spot, Adam,
hey,
but
come on up, Adam.
Oh, he can do it.
Come on, Adam.
not the whole building, just this particular space.
Oh, no, go for the whole thing.
Well, about 2,000 years ago now. So the meeting that we're having in this room is the orientation gallery. And this orientation gallery is part of that original 1921 character that the home was restored to in order to make this a museum. Under the standards of the Department of the Interior, the museum, when it was purchased by the town, was restored back to this 1921 appearance, and the room itself actually details not just an orientation video normally, which is why you might see a projector up here, but also exhibiting the various timelines of both the architectural and the archaeological history of the site, as well as the community involvement and the citizens of the island and the surrounding areas took to preserve the actual building itself.
And Adam, if I could, when this room was a home, what would be in this room normally when it was a residence?
It had multiple uses depending on the family. I mean, this blueprint right here gives kind of a brief layout. It's been partially a kitchen, it's been a kind of a living room or a sitting room, depending on who lived here. So it had many various functions for the residents who lived here, 1921 after.
Thank you.
And the museum is open Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday from 9 to 4.
You got
And you can get a whole lot more information at that point.
Wonderful.
You
Come on
can.
over.
Good plug.
Thank you, Adam.
So a couple more things before I get on to the kind of the Mound House in general and the work we've been doing on it. We've had quite a few special events that either are happening here or are going to happen. So we have the Women's Club and the Fort Myers Beach Community Foundation that are going to meet here as well, which is great. We have some advisory boards that are going to be meeting, more to come on that. The Women's Club is having their Christmas Christmas tree event here this year. So that's another great event. And the Island Hopper event will happen at Mound House as well. Some other things we're going to have, our trip hopefully coming up is Trivia Night, Trivia Day as an
When
event.
you said the Island, the Songwriter Festival?
Yes,
Is going to be at the Mound House?
part of it, yep. We'll have a vendor here.
Do we have a date as to when, what,
September
30th?
30th? Yeah, somewhere in the end of
Ish.
so
September.
live music here at the Mound House?
Live music, yep, more to come on that.
Love
so
that.
Stay tuned. We're also hosting the Bay Oaks Summer Camp. It's going to be more kind of an adventure camp to kind of use the strategic plan of the Mound House as well as having it be an environmental camp and putting that mission in there. We did place an ad, and I think some of you have it, in the Fort Myers Beach Living magazine. So they can be, for any visitors that want to check us out, we do have a little ad in there now.
What page is it in? Do you mind my asking?
Page 5.
Page 5, yeah. Page 5, so check that out. We want to, our main goal is to get and promote the Mound House a little more, to get people out here and enjoying the experience and learn the history and culture of the island as well. And then Murph, the other advisory board, the task force is going to promote our activities when they go out and do their pop-up tents as well, and have some flyers and stuff they can hand out to people. So a lot of good stuff happening. There's more to come on the events, and we're just trying to get some things here, hopefully some weddings in the future, some more events out here. It's a beautiful location. Like we all say, it's not much green space on the island right now, and this is just beautiful, and we can gain momentum from that. So,
Jeff, do you have any estimate as to when you'll have your rack cards again so that there will be collaborative materials?
I don't. We're working on ordering them.
Reimbursement.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we'll have to get those through the Fund 13. I think we can do that. So some updates on the progress of the Mound House since the hurricane. The underground, we're hopefully going to have the lighting all done, at least the floor lights and the can lights, next week, possibly week after. So that'll be done. He's just ordering the contractor's ordering the parts, and we'll have that done. We had to do an LED light on the bottom because everything was corroded from the salt water. It would have been very costly to reroute all that wiring and conduit, so we decided to go LED, which if we want, we could change colors in there too for presentations. So for instance, I envision it as the rope lights go, maybe the floor lights can go too. Something in that nature, but it could be white or it could be off too. So they're a lot more energy efficient as well, and they're more stable, and if any water gets down there, they're waterproof. So. The roofing project.
That.
What's that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool. And less expensive, right?
Yeah, less
Yeah.
expensive. Yeah, and it gives a little, I guess, a modern edge to it a little bit down there. If anybody.
Be less hot.
Yeah, heat wise
Yeah,
too.
that's-
Yeah, it'll be less.
That's huge.
Yep. So all those floor lights that you saw on the ground, those are now going to be LED strips.
Nice.
So Jeff, once the electrical is okay, then that area will be visitable again?
Yep. Then we can get it opened, and then the next step is the AV system. Contracting that out. We have a few companies we can call on to start the process, but down there that may take a little bit of time.
Being able to go in there, I think will be very
Yeah.
nice. People
Just
like
being
that.
there, yeah. It would be
Yeah,
great.
we're thinking like fall, September.
For the AV.
No, for
No,
the
for
to
the
go in.
whole underground.
Oh, for just the lighting would be hopefully, yeah. in less than a month.
I mean, for when we can take people in.
Yeah, probably less than a month.
All
Yeah,
right,
we just have to do a
excellent.
narration
Yeah,
rather than.
It just won't have the whole
Oh,
rope lights and
excellent.
TV, but we can do maybe some of that in here during the.
Right, maybe,
Yeah,
yeah,
in the-
orientation. Great.
So yeah, the roofing is under contract. We had to kind of rework the contract to a construction contract and not an RFP. But that Crowther was the one that won the bid and is okay with that. We're just getting the final touches to it, and then they'll come in and we'll be redoing the roof, the partial re-roofing of the mound house. So that's well on its way. Our lift station for the underground and all the water we got fixed yesterday. So we're really making some really good progress on, getting the things that happened from the hurricane fixed. Right now it's awesome. We got most everything fixed and it's still a great place to come and enjoy. And hopefully the underground will be soon. Some other things we're doing is we're putting more lumber ties on the driveway so to prevent washout of the driveway. And just give it a nice clean look as you're driving through.
Can the buses still get through?
Buses?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be,
Okay.
okay. Adam and I were talking, and he's got the lecture series scheduled out through the end of the year, so that's wonderful. People can go on the website and look and sign up. But can they sign up for them as well right now?
Not right now, for this month and next month.
Okay, you can sign up, but they're all on there. So you
All
can
on where?
all on the website, right? Yeah, on the
Okay.
website.
And they'll be available via Zoom as well?
Would you?
Sure.
Sure, yeah, we can do that.
So are you saying that the scheduling for May and June, no, June and July
Yeah,
are all set?
they're all
And that's already on the website?
correct.
Okay. But then from this point, from July forward, the scheduling hasn't been defined yet?
The schedule's been defined, we just don't have
Set
sign-up
November.
stuff.
You can't sign up yet.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
no, but
The lecture series are already scheduled for those dates?
through the end of the year?
Yes, correct.
Okay, I guess that was the disconnect for us too, because as CELCAB members, we didn't have any idea about what the planning was. And because we hadn't met,
Sure.
up until April, we normally have the proposed schedule well in advance so that we
Okay.
have a chance to review it and offer recommendations. But, so going forward, that would be something that we would like to oversee.
Okay,
Um,
sounds good.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're still offering kayak tours, of course. The one for this Saturday, there's 2 spots left, so eight people have signed up for the one this weekend, which is great. Nice holiday weekend, fun thing to do. But you can sign up for those on the website as well. ABC7 is going to be doing a story on the Mound House. They just contacted us this week. So Adam's going to be doing an interview with them June 6th, and they want to feature the Mound House, which is fantastic. And then Adam himself, we keep talking about Adam Knight, our interim museum manager. He's been doing some outreach as well with doing some speaking. He spoke at the Calusa Nature Center on April 12th to 22 people about the history of the Calusa. And then he's also scheduled to speak at about the fishing Ranchero period, March of 2024. So we're getting Adam out there and the staff out there for some more outreach. We did sit at a booth. We're trying to get more booths out for festivals. The Downtown Art Festival as well we're looking at going to. And just sitting and maybe selling some of our merchandise and talking to people. I can tell you, I sat at a booth at the 5K run that was done by Beach Talk Radio, and although I didn't sell any merchandise, I talked to probably about 15 people that were either visiting the island or lived on the island and asked me where Mound House was.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So we gave out some brochures and flyers, so I think any outreach that we can get, the better. So that's kind of one of our goals, is to set up these kind of pop-up booths at different festivals and get the word out and promote the Mound House and get some visitors here. Last but not least, Newton Beach Park is kind of still in that holding pattern. It's still being used through the sand berm project, so it's a holding period until that is done, which I don't have a timeline for right now. But once that is done, we already have the works to get the shade structures ready, the restrooms there, and we can then start talking about maybe either a permanent facility or some permanent bathrooms on what we want to do with that. We still want it to be an educational site for people with beach walks and, you know, labeling out the vegetative items that we have there, but we could make it a little bit, you know, more green space.
Do we have a handle on what might be required or would be allowed to change, or what we need to do to stay in line with the original grant from the Florida Communities Trust? I mean, because that's, we said we would do certain things, and now some of that has changed.
Yeah, that's what we'll have to go back to, because it's still going to be used for that purpose. So we will, when we start doing our planning, that'll be definitely incorporated in that,
Good.
for sure.
Okay, good.
But there is a plan. It's just it'll take some time to get Newton back up and running and what we want. But you know, it's never too early to start planning if that's what we want to start talking about.
And isn't there simply because the historic home was destroyed by the hurricane, is there an opportunity for this FEMA Resiliently funding to possibly go toward the rebuilding of a building for that site?
Yeah, Jim, can you want to speak on that?
You know, it's been interesting. It's over $1 billion, and the definition of what's allowed is always changing, and and everyone's has a different interpretation. But it's certainly the town manager is preparing a list, and that would certainly be one of the things on the list. And we're trying to get the best read from Commissioner Ruane, who chairs the committee, County Commissioner Ruane, as to what they're looking for and what would be most appealing to the committee and to the feds, so we can submit the list from our list that's most likely to be approved. But it's almost like a mind reading session at this point to know exactly what they're looking for. But it's a significant amount of money, and the town certainly was underinsured, so we don't have the ability to I know Newton Park wasn't properly insured, unfortunately, so we would have to look to an entity like that, and there may be some other grant opportunities. I just talked to the town manager this morning that he's getting ready to contract with a writer, a professional grant writing firm who would do work for us to help us. We also have this tidal basin, which is kind of our we're paying for tidal basin both FEMA funds, and they're tracking all the FEMA dollars, but they also have the ability to research grant money available as well. So I think that certainly should be something we would add to the list. And we as a group, I think, need to talk about what we would do with Newton. If we built a facility there, would it replicate what we do at Mound House? Would it replicate what we do at Bay Oaks? What would be the purpose of it, and how would we utilize it? Clearly, I think that the ability to build bathrooms back it would possibly be covered by TDC funds.
Yes, yes, in the past,
Yep,
exactly.
but whether the actual Newton Park building itself, if we wanted to have it for weddings and events, is that replicate what the Mound House is trying to do? That gets back to your strategic plan question. We sort of need to get a sense as to what this group feels like would be a priority, and how we would utilize the Newton Park building. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but what would be its purpose, and would it be duplicative, or would we have a different purpose for it, or because it doesn't have that historic charm that it once did, so it'd be more of a practical building.
Right, good
yeah,
point.
yeah.
Mhm, that's
But
exactly.
I'm open for suggestion on that, and but to the county dollars, it's they have not. I think they've been purposely vague on that.
Identified.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, thank you, Vice
So,
Mayor.
Jim, would it be appropriate for this group to have kind of well, I'll call it a brainstorming session for want of anything else, that about possible uses of how it could be a use that was in keeping with the mountain, so it was complementary?
Yes.
So,
I think
that would be something that could be
I
fleshed out a little
think
bit?
it'd be wonderful for the council to hear from this group, and it probably dovetails nicely with the strategic plan for the Mound House.
Exactly.
And once we see what that strategic plan is, can we accomplish everything we need with that plan? Or do we need a supplement like the Newton building, or whatever we decide to call it? And would that supplement or detract, or how would we, it's really up to this group to make that decision and make that recommendation.
Well, and to go back and see what is required and what might have to be done.
Done.
I mean, do we have to repay that grant?
So let's find out what we have to
It was
do.
always meant to be a passive educational
Right.
museum
Yes.
component.
So
which-
how can we,
And we would certainly need a facility to be able to do that. Now, of course, we would have those beach walks continue,
Right.
and that
Right.
did really speak
there
to
was a
that mission.
recreation part too, and the bocce courts just didn't really work out real well. But
But
anyway,
the historic building was, you know, if you remember, we had the FPAN lectures there, and that was hugely informative, and of course, the rental facility, which was great. People, and I like, somebody used the word sister organization, I think it might have been you, Adam, or, anyway, when they talk about, you know, the Mound House, which is on the bay, and then you have, you know, Newton Park, which is on the beach, and a sister, you know, relationship. It's complementary, and it's not adversely in competition. So I can see that the educational components will be more beach-oriented, where this would be more Calusa-oriented, but not to lose any of that educational environmental component. But just like we all, as islanders, understand what the difference is between the beach and the bay, perhaps the public needs to be better informed as well. So I think all of that's good, but we, as you say, we do not want to lose sight of what that Florida Communities Trust Agreement stipulated, that the town was in fact legally responsible for. And if they chose not to do it, in other words, if that Bay Oaks, not Bay Oaks, but the Newton property is up for grabs, then the town is responsible for paying that loan back, or the gift back, actually, to Becky's point.
Years ago, I guess, shortly after we got the agreement with the Communities Trust, there were some items in it that were really very, very tightly specific. And then some things changed, and I don't, you know, I'm pulling on old memory right now, but one of the questions that was raised is there any wiggle room with the agreement? Are there any items that we can alter without wrecking it? You know, can we bring it up to what our needs are at this time? And I think that as we're now post-Ian, that's something that we should look at for sure.
That's a great
Yeah,
suggestion,
yeah.
because obviously they also recognize, wow, you know, not every island has gone through the kind of storm that we have, and perhaps they might be open to new ways of thinking.
Yeah, and I like the word park.
Yes.
And there's so much we could do with that. I mean, even an open shelter type thing.
Like almost like a
And
pavilion.
I think, you know, where you see a rest stops and things like that, just something that, like you said, the beach walks could go out of there, and other lectures on the beach, this type of thing. But I like the idea of keeping it more park oriented.
do we need to look at also next at the strategic plan for Newton and sort of X out all of the house stuff?
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
so much.
I
of
mean,
it-
there was a vision and a whole thing
Right,
that we did.
Right, and so
Exactly.
much of, like you were talking about, the restrictions we had were because it was the historic house.
Correct.
Yes.
So I'm thinking so much of that, but
It's gone.
Gone.
Just so I'm clear, so this trust that helped provide the funds,
Right.
there's potential liability to the town if we do not build back Newton Park?
Well, if we do not
If you saw
abide by
about
the
that.
agreement
Yep.
as stated.
And
So, yes.
We could find that agreement where?
The town has a copy, it's the Florida Communities Trust
Oh.
Agreement. We all used to have a copy, I don't know if anybody survived the storm, but things are
I
gone.
know I have one.
Jeff, would you be so kind as to take a look at it, but also send it to our town council and have our attorney review it, just to get a sense of what our obligations are?
I think it's
And it
more
would
you
be
can't
to
sell the
send it
land
to all of
and
us.
have to build a condo.
Okay.
Yeah.
And from my knowledge, it's like Barbara said, it's kind of a general education, like we need to do something there to educate the public.
I remember there was a physical fitness component
did.
to it as well, and that's why we're
Yeah,
going to do
that
the
was-
swing
yeah.
sets.
Yes, we could do swings
Yeah.
instead of bocce.
Right, I
Yeah.
would recommend
Yeah.
it, yeah.
And actually, what I'd love to see,
Jeff,
because
would you, I'm sorry,
Oh, go ahead.
Barbara, would you make sure that we all got a copy of it
Yeah,
also?
absolutely.
That would be good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
actually the idea of opening this conversation up, in addition to our all having copies of the Florida Florida Communities Trust agreement is opening up the lines of communication between Jeff and the agency that provided this funding, and finding out now, having gone through this, what can we do? What do they suggest? And they could perhaps offer us recommendations. Then we can talk about that as we do the strategic plan for Newton
Maybe
Park.
they'd offer some additional resources.
Well, and you
Right.
I would think so. That's what I'd like to see. And lobbying certainly is never a bad idea, like it would be for any other state agency. So I'd love for the staff to pursue communications with that Florida State Agency to find out what our possibilities are, what our requirements are,
Yes.
given post-Ian.
So what was the time difference between Florida Trust providing funding for the purchasing this property and buying and
Oh,
purchasing?
the Florida Community Trust didn't give the money here. They,
Yes, they
let's see,
did.
I thought it was the Division of Cultural,
They're on
I
the
thought it was
side.
another state
the side.
agency,
There
wasn't it?
are multiple.
Historic Preservation.
I'd have to do some
I think it was
research.
Florida Communities Trust.
Yeah.
They're all on the
Both
side.
of them?
Community
Okay.
Trust.
I know it is on the Mound House sign out there, so I'm
Yeah,
guessing
yes.
it's
Yeah,
part of
right.
that, but.
Okay.
Exactly.
Because my thought is,
Mhm.
we talked about in competition with the non, I see it as being very complementary.
Exactly.
Our visibility is minimal because we're on the
Yes.
bay,
Yeah.
and they're on the Gulf. So
Right.
you say, this is the gateway to what's ever here, and the gateway to what's down the street.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think there's endless not
You
endless,
bet.
but lots of
Lots of
possibilities.
yeah.
I think we still have a little
It's
more
okay.
to do. I haven't lost sight, we're still listening to your director's report.
And just
Jeff.
on my opinion, I have not heard anything but using it, turning it back into an educational park. I haven't, we're not selling it, we're not doing.
Right, no,
so-
right, it's just,
Exactly.
So our plan at least as staff is to put it back as an educational park, what that looks like and what the structures are.
I shouldn't even say this, but I did run into a neighbor of the Newton Park who said that he would donate a significant amount of money to put in trust for the park and/or the Mound House if we did not rebuild the property. He said it would be okay to have a restroom and so forth, but not rebuild a facility. And he offered to make a sizable donation because he likes the fact that it would just be a park.
You bet.
Yeah, so it's
did
just
he live
interesting.
across the street?
He lives next to it, yeah.
We know exactly what that is. Jim, would he consider an open air pavilion appropriate?
That's a great question.
That's-
Yeah,
I don't
because
know.
then that would be an education
Yeah.
facility. You just
Yes,
put
yes.
oh gosh, that would be, yeah, then you give it a place for weddings without a tent and that kind of
Exactly, and
stuff.
that's be very conducive.
All kinds of meetings.
For all kinds of things.
Yeah,
And,
right.
School groups, when they come
We
here, then
just
they're
ran
there.
into them after, we were sitting outside
And then, right,
of
exactly.
the Diamond Head,
Yes,
and that was the couple that was the gentleman who made that offer.
of course, I'm not surprised. We all know who they are.
We know exactly.
They're beloved by,
They are beloved.
yes,
They're
they
wonderful
are.
people.
Didn't mention a specific number, but he said it was be generous.
It would be worth our time.
Let's talk,
Yes.
right? So,
That is all I had.
all right, thank you, Jeff.
Could I just,
And-
Madam Chair, Jeff, if you could send around a list of the lectures and the topics and the speakers to the group, that would be great.
Yeah, I
To
can-
this group,
I
that
can
would be
get
great.
that,
I just was looking for it on the website, and I think it would be great just to send that around to everybody, so people know what the agenda is for the next, for the lecture series.
And just, good point, and as an FYI, going forward with future CELCAB meetings, all of your director's reports would need to be included in our packet, so everyone
Okay.
has a copy.
Good to know, learning.
So with the minutes and the agenda and the director's report and what other issues, I mean, obviously some budgetary issues too as you go forward, will be helpful. I mean, I think we all recognize that, if you remember, before we had the meeting in April, it was July 2022 that we had the last meeting.
Yeah.
And if you remember, that was all about, those subsequent, or the previous meetings were all about the idea of merging.
Yes.
CELCAB and
Yes,
CELCAB.
exactly,
And so we never got through with talking about updating our strategic plan as a result.
Correct.
And so, of course, between COVID and the merging of the advisory boards and then the hurricane, last month was the first time that we had an opportunity to meet. So I give everybody a wide swath as to whatever confusion there is, both on behalf of our membership here as the advisory board and the staff and the council, as to just what the roles are of every individual, who's responsible for what, and what kind of planning goes forward. And again, to that issue is the necessity of updating our strategic plan, which we haven't done in more than a year as a result. So that's one of the things that I wanted to add to this the agenda for this month is we talked about it last month to say, let's review this, which we need to do. And to your point, Ellen, I think the idea of having a workshop of some kind,
Yes.
just for either CELCAB members and council, CELCAB members and staff and council, to really hash out, what opportunities there are. We have a lot of entities. We have council, which is they're the ones that they say decide.
That's right. They
Let
hold
the
the
voters
purse
decide.
strings. Yep.
So
Yeah.
bottom line, it's up to council. We, as advisory board members, look at all of the data, look at all the information that we receive, and we review, we vote, but we vote to recommend.
Yes.
But again, the council makes that final decision. So that process needs to be served, and that's what we're going to work toward. And I think with regard to the strategic plan, looking at short and long-term goals, looking at the diverse programming, and I'm so glad to hear that we've, talked to the Calusa Nature Center, and we're looking at getting booths and a number of different groups around Southwest Florida, not just Lee County, to expand our audience, which I think is a noble and right thing to do, but also to engage them to come here so that we have increased attendance and hopefully some good sales in the museum shop and increased
Membership.
attendance at the lectures and the events.
Yeah.
And hopefully additional funding and sponsorships, because I think if you look at the strategic plan, we had corporate sponsorships as a goal. How are we, like if we were going to, if the staff and the CELCAB members defined a particular program that was worthy of funding, then that would be identified, and then that funding of need would be given to Friends, so Friends then could raise money for that particular event. So we're hoping that all of that can be put together in a more direct way. So I guess my question, and I'm jumping ahead here because I go right to the strategic plan, but what I'd like to request from staff and from our liaison, Jim Adderholt, is that we have a workshop that we would maybe schedule to look at our strategic plan. And I know that at one point there was funding left for us last year before the hurricane to allocate toward bringing a consultant in, like Lorna.
Yes, like we had.
Yes,
Lorna.
Because Lorna
Yeah,
was
she
the one that
excellent.
devised both the
Yep.
Mount House and the Newton Park. And perhaps that is time that we need to do that. I don't know what happened to that funding, but obviously, I believe it was $1,200 or $1,500 was never allocated, and I believe that might have been even before this past year, right?
Yeah, but think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think we were supposed to spend money on getting Allison that Leadership Lee
Right,
um,
right.
activity, and I'm not quite sure to what extent that money was already spent, but I'd like to bring that back up again. So funding mechanism, hiring the consultant, reevaluating and refining and updating our strategic plans for both the Mount House and Newton Park.
Can I ask one question? And one of the things that's on here that I wondered about, and you talked about grants, is Allison wrote a grant for the marketing. I thought it was due either June 1 or July 1. And she wrote it in the name, it couldn't be done by the town, it had to be done by the Friends.
The arts and attractions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did that get done?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff's on it.
And we have the notes for the upcoming one, so we're gonna
Okay.
there'll be one due soon again.
I was gonna say, it's either due June 1 or July 1.
Yeah, it's coming up. I think
Okay,
it's-
you're on it.
Yep.
All right.
And that grant, that money needs to be spent and the invoice is submitted by September 10th to hit this September 30th. So I reached out to Jim Steele to see how much money we have spent to date, because the invoices would have come to the Friends. And he's getting back to me because he has to go back all through those records. But I honestly suspect a lot of it probably has not been spent, because when you think about the timing, and then, the wheels came off, so. Anyway, so we'll find out, but
Yeah.
no, but we have ideas about how to
And that could
spend
be,
it.
yeah, we could, if we do have money, we could definitely get like the rack cards and those things for
That's the
marketing.
sort of
would
thing,
be-
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
Ads.
yep.
and the issue with regard to the TDC's Art and Attractions Grant was only marketing that could be done without printed forms. So in other words,
Oh,
no ads could be used, right? No brochures could be printed, because that's something they would not fund. What they will fund is all the digital marketing that really is predominantly what flips the boat marketing
Did
wise.
they help with the website or something?
Yes,
No,
yes.
well,
It's a
they
line
do
item.
for a line item,
Okay.
but I don't know, is that in this year's grant too?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it was,
Okay.
yeah,
And they're working on that.
yeah, we're working on, yeah.
Go website.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so any other questions about the strategic plan? Any thoughts? You want to walk through it just briefly to get our hands around just what we have before us in terms of what needs to be updated? One thing I did ask Jeff, because again, there's been such turnover with regard to council and staff, and so I asked if he could provide an organizational chart of his
I'll send
his staff and job responsibilities, so we have a better idea of, what you're doing or what you need to have that you don't yet, so that we can maybe be helpful to you in
Yeah,
terms of
and-
funding going forward.
And that right now is a fluid situation with our budgets and the open positions where we just actively talked about it on Monday or Tuesday as far as what we're gonna have budgeted for. So it's kind of a moving target right now, but we'll have it probably settled in the next week or so.
Okay.
And then I'll send it out then. There are some positions that we switched a little bit to more fit our marketing and events needs. We also have in there for a collections and exhibits coordinator to keep kind of a track of, because we have to, by law, we have to keep track of our collections and make sure we have it all set. So we have that, and then is there one more? I think that was it for the major stuff, but yeah, we're focusing it more on the marketing and events and getting that out here, and we'll still have the education coordinator and those things too. So just speaking on those.
Okay.
I'm looking at appoint a chairperson to work with Friends of the Mountain House, and that was me in '21. I am no longer on the board. I am ex officio, so I show up and my mouth is almost never quiet. So. But if you wanted somebody more official, that would be something done whenever.
Okay, so there's another issue, and I wrote that too. I said, who is the person now? Because that was a while ago.
Yeah. It's still me, I think.
Right, and also you see too, where there's, some ambiguity because of, the position changing. When we wrote this, and, a number of years ago, it was with the idea that Allison was the museum director. But she then became the director of Park, Recreation, Cultural Facilities. So then now there's Jeff as that position, but then we have a museum manager, which is a considerable position as it relates to some of our short and long-term goals. So that isn't established here in this plan, which we need to address. So, for example, working with CELCAB to define the purpose and the responsibilities. And again, if you look back to our ordinance that we have that the town approved a number of years ago, I believe 2018, it talked about what the CELCAB's responsibilities are in terms of providing recommendations to the council And so that needs to, in fact, I think I have a copy of that here. I'll just go briefly mention to you about the CELCAB. So it says the broad objectives of CELCAB are to ensure and promote the mission of the Mound House and Newton Beach Park. So we have to evaluate that mission and review and define and approve. Let's do that once again collectively, so we understand what our mission is. It's a historic mission of what the Mound House is to us and to the town and to the public. Through stewardship, advocacy, and oversight, according to the best practices of museums and required as stated in the Florida Communities Trust Agreement for each property. Agreed. There you go, Ellen. The CELCAB shall advise the town council on these matters or any other topics as decided by the town council. So we have a better understanding of what we as CELCAB members are responsible for providing to town council for your vote. So
You're being awfully modest. This group has such profound influence in us as thought leaders in the community that whatever you recommend generally flops. And I appreciate your humility there, yes.
And we just want to keep it that way.
Yes. Touche.
and about the funding,
Knew you'd get
let's see, which were those new positions that you needed, Jeff?
Yeah.
Were we talking about rotating exhibitions to bring in additional audiences? Wouldn't that be lovely, right? All of the above? So thank you for that vote of confidence, Vice Mayor. I will take that personally. Okay, moving along with regard to the strategic plan, any other thoughts? What did you, when you looked over the strategic plan before this meeting, did you have any questions? Any things that you would like to really focus on that you haven't before now?
I just thought it warranted us sitting down
Yeah.
and going through it again and updating it. 'Cause I mean, so much has changed.
Yeah. Exactly, so much has in fact changed.
Madam Chair, if I could, and I'm sorry, but I just, and I mean that sincerely about this being a group of thought leaders in our community. So let me share something that may tie into the strategic plan. It's a little bit premature, but I want you all to know what's going on because I just had a meeting today about it. It's so interesting and potentially transformative for our island. There is a group that's seriously looking at, and it's related, but it's somewhat apart from the Moss Marina development, in that they're seriously looking at a water passenger ferry service for our island. And something I've been a huge supporter of for a long time, but it's great to have a private company now seeing the possibility where the business model could actually work, and it could be privately run, privately operated. It would likely be potentially, let me rephrase, potentially based on San Carlos Island, but then it would have that's where the boats would be based, and then it would stop at potentially like Fishtail Marina and Snook Bright Marina behind Publix there. And one of the things that I found out today that was really interesting, and by the way, this ferry then would go to Moss Marine, potentially Pink Shell, and continually go around and maybe over to San Carlos again, just depending on where the marinas are, and just keep going in a circle. And so you know that your boat's going to come once every half hour, once every 45 minutes. You can count on it, unlike our trolley, which just gets stuck in traffic. And you have this beautiful experience, and then the way they would market it is you would potentially get a day pass where you would have unlimited use of the ferry.
Fantastic.
And so you could go on. So if you wanted to, like in the afternoon, go to the Mound House and then go over for dinner. And of course, as everybody who lives on the south side knows, nobody wants to go north during season because they want to deal with the traffic. But imagine all those people, instead of going to Bonita and Naples, going on the ferry to the north end or to the Mound House and having a wonderful day. Friends and family, visitors who are down, you just hop on the boat together. So you would get a day pass, and there's the potential also to buy a yearly pass of unlimited usage throughout the year of the water ferry as well. And so, but when he mentioned the Mound House as a potential stop,
And he mentioned it.
and he mentioned it, and he mentioned that the hotels, not just you've got Margaritaville, you've got the Moss Marine, but you've got other existing hotels who could put that in their package for their visitors. saying, hey, hop on the ferry and come on down, and the marinas could market it on the south end, so people could come north and have, because it's just something additional to do instead of just going to the bars and restaurants. You could actually do something historical, cultural, and kind of have the whole package, especially if you got your family there and you want something different to do. So it would bring in, and these are visitors that aren't necessarily regular visitors to Fort Myers Beach. They're maybe one-time or two-time visitors, but they're always looking for things to do, and it's a whole new infusion of people to the Mound House that never would have ever had a chance to come here or think about coming here.
Exactly.
And it was really encouraging. So it's obviously still a work in progress, but I just thought as we look at the strategic plan, you could potentially have a boat stopping with 49 people, that would be with the projected number for each boat to carry, every 45 minutes at the pier here, and drop off people who wanted to visit the Mound House, do their thing, and then head back on the pier and go elsewhere where they want to go. So it's kind of a cool concept.
Adam's getting nervous.
Maybe they all wouldn't get off at the same time.
Probably not, probably not. That's a lot of people coming through, which would be great. And they wouldn't be in their cars, and they would be.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Right, yeah.
And to that note, we've actually had conversations with one of the charters that wants to have us be a stop for them to market that way. Like this would be one of the stops on their boat tour.
Yeah.
They do a tour here, and then they go on the way. So that's a good tie-in.
So that would also be, it would build into your numbers, but also is the pier capable to take a boat like that of that size? And I don't know enough about what the capabilities are, but we have to be thinking about these things for the future, because I think this has a real possibility of happening. I know there's been a lot of talk about it, but they see the finances as working now, and especially during season. You know.
Brilliant.
Well, on any given day, if you're just walking out on the pier, you hear boats go by all the time, like, oh yeah, that's the Mound House, blah, blah, and you don't even know if their information's accurate, but it'd be nice if they could stop, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
But that would require our having an official launching dock that
We do.
Sure.
I mean, we have the one where they can tie up, whether it would
But
handle
no,
a bigger boat.
unload, offload, and I mean,
Yeah,
that's
with appropriate
something that
safety
is,
requirements.
something
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
ADA
exactly,
required.
yeah.
I think that would really involve maybe TDC funding.
Yeah.
If in fact that can be marketed
Yeah.
as an ability for a commercial touring boat of some kind, coming to the dock and safely landing and loading and unloading passengers. And that's something we don't have right now, right? So that would be.
We do have them come, though, and load and unload,
I
to
think
a
we used
certain
to have-
extent.
We used to have the tours to Mount Key, which I dearly would love to
Yes.
go back to doing. Remember, we had the Santini
Right. It was,
Marina?
Fishtail Marina.
Yes,
Yeah,
Fishtail
but when
Marina.
it was sold, we lost that capability.
Yeah, and that would be definitely worthwhile, maybe partnering with a business, a marina somewhere on the island that could provide that for us. I don't think we want to get into the boat business of owning one of
No,
them.
we do not.
No.
But we do want to partner with a marina to offer that
Yes.
as a way to
And
educate our
this
visitors.
company is also thinking about a concierge type service, which would be a smaller boat that groups, let's say EBIA had a group of people that wanted to go do something special. They could have the boat almost like a limousine at their service for the evening, and it could be at their disposal, and then potentially would go out to Bound Key and or other unique areas that the regular service wouldn't necessarily hit, and then it would always be there at your disposal if you wanted to move on to the next site. And so I mean, the ideas are really endless in terms of what they can
Sounds
do.
good.
I think the thing about Mam Key is there's almost nothing there if you do not have a good
Need a
guide.
guide,
That's
exactly.
true. That could be-
I mean, I think we've certainly had good guide. I don't know if Adam has done that or who was doing that in the past.
Penny was doing
Penny was.
Penny did it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is certainly something that Adam could do with, you have 15 minutes of boning up on it. But you can't just drop people off. You can drop people off and they climb the hill and they go, where are the goats? That's about it. So you really need a good program, which we could do.
And there's no entity more valuable to us than the Mound House, providing that ability to give tours.
Yes.
Koresha Park isn't doing it. And that was the other partnership that we were hoping to establish with a state park and our Mound House to offer educational programming and tours on a regular basis to the Mount Key. It dovetails beautifully with our Calusa history. So why would we not have that as a front and center option?
Yeah, and we're, like I said, we're looking at increasing all of our potential for here, so that would be something definitely we would be on board, no pun intended, and and go forward with.
So is
I'd like to
Mount
add
Key-
that, I'd like to add that to our strategic plan as an option. I mean, these are the ideas now
Yeah.
that we,
You bet.
haven't written down
Right,
in
you bet.
part of our plan that we should. Same thing with, providing, launching
The appropriate peer,
opportunities.
yeah.
Exactly.
So is Mound Key an independent state park, or is it connected to one of the existing state
No,
parks?
it's an
Correction.
independent state.
Yeah.
I think it's separate from correction.
Oh, yes.
It's
Yeah,
separate,
state park.
it's
separate.
an
It's separate.
architectural or archaeological state.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
But the state hasn't really done anything to it.
Correct.
Well, that's not to say that they couldn't in the future if they're so motivated.
Yeah, but they've kept it natural.
Yes.
Barbara, the state has a plan that we had gotten a grant, and we wrote a beautiful plan for a dock.
We being Correction Park, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
And the state has chosen not to do anything about it. They would prefer not to. They said that it would be a far reach for them to be able to handle it.
Which meant that they didn't think that it was worth funding.
They don't want people out there.
Oh,
They don't want what?
they don't want
People out
people
there.
out there.
Did they put a new dock in out there? Or they,
That's the McGee's dock. They may
Oh.
have fixed it
Yeah.
up a little bit.
okay,
The goat.
And that would have been 2020 money.
okay.
They bought the
Yeah,
McGee
yeah.
property with 2020 money, so.
I went to school with Ted McGee. He was my classmate. I know, right? I remember when they sold it to the state, so, yeah.
Is there lots of wonderful possibilities for
There are.
get the wheels turning?
To get the wheels turning, exactly, exactly.
Exciting.
Well, I don't know if that's also covered our Mound House events or if that was just future brainstorming, but do we have anything to add with regard to the Mound House events?
No, just that we're open, so we're open to events and weddings and whatever else we can do, but also, we are being obviously very conscious of this being a historical facility, so we're not having some wild parties out here, that's not what we're looking for.
Oh, no.
But just, to utilize the beauty of this facility and this building for the general public. And we just want to be open as a town entity and a town property that's one of the few that's still standing in very good shape right now to offer those services to, I guess, the general public, so.
Within the confines of our own requirements.
Correct. Yes, yeah, like I said, we don't want, people out here parking on the mound and all that stuff, so, when I say we're open to anything, I mean, there's boundaries, for sure. We want to keep the
We certainly understand.
integrity of the Mound House and the historical nature.
And I think the core issue here is our core mission, and that is historic. And obviously, everything else that goes into decision-making with regard to funding, programming, events, future planning, has to do with maintaining and respecting the integrity of our core mission, which I read the other day sounds perfect. I don't think we need to change it. We're not, obviously, this is the animal in which we support. This preserve, interpret, and share 2,000 years of cultural and environmental history of Fort Myers Beach in Southwest Florida, to whomever would want to hear it. And as much as we can diversify our audience and, bringing in all people and diversifying that audience and the demographics as much as we can, not just locally, statewide, nationally, and internationally, that's our mission.
And to that note, and we've talked about accreditations, briefly, and Adam and Karina brought up, they found out that part of that accreditation now is going to be a component of diversity, equality, accessible, and inclusion. So showing that you're doing that as a site is going to be part of your accreditation. So
Good.
we want to keep that in mind too. But that's going forward, if that's something we're looking at, that's something we really want to.
I mean, we were working on that. Were we going to have a study?
I think, well, the MAP is the Museum Assessment Program, and it's usually a three-component, three-year program, if you remember, and Allison started that process. I think we were in MAP 1 of the process, and of course with COVID and everything else, I don't know how far along we got, but we don't want to lose sight of the fact that, and I'm sure that's in our strategic plan too, is that we want to seek AAM accreditation.
It is in here, yeah.
And so, again, when we reevaluate the strategic plan, making sure that we are following the requirements that it takes for us to become accredited. And to your point, with the cultural diversity and the programming that ensures that that happens, that we include everyone, should be followed. Okay. Anything more with regard to the strategic plan? Our plan maybe is now to have another meeting or a workshop. I don't know this is something that we could deal with in a regular CELCAB meeting. So I'd like to request a time, and I don't know if council needs to be involved with that. What do you think? I mean, do we need to hire, I think we should hire the consultant, see if there's funding available for us to do that.
Yeah, I think Jeff's biggest challenge with it would in essence be asking for a joint meeting between CELCAB and the council for strategic planning for Mount House and Newton Park. And of course, the challenge, of course, is with all the other advisory committees, is to find a date that works for everybody.
Yeah.
I think the council would be more than happy and encouraged to be part of that, but just trying to work with the very elaborate system that to try to find a common location. It would be nice if we have the room. I don't know if we could. It'd be nice to have it here.
Oh, for sure.
But I think we'd probably have to add a table or two and put Jacob's
Your answer is okay.
IT.
Your answer is okay.
Yes. Okay, Laura, do you have a question?
If we were inviting council to come and, help us plan the future, is that when we want the consultant? I think that would be a separate
Good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's, I think the workshop,
Separate.
so that we can, I think
Yeah.
the
the
defining
council.
of our direction going forward from council, and because it involves council decision-making and our decision-making, and certainly understanding the role that staff and all of us have to play in this, is a conversation just to set the stage going forward. As far as a consultant is concerned, I think that would be another step. And I think the summer months now coming up will give us a few months to really hash all of that out. I'd like before the beginning of our next fiscal year, October 1, to be able to have all this ready to rock and roll for the future programming.
So just so I understand the answer to Lori's question, which was a good question, you're thinking that the facilitator would just work with CELCAB, and then the council, the joint meeting would be separate upon the results of the facilitator?
It's a great question. I think, I guess we could go both ways. I'm
I
thinking
think we were
first.
thinking council
I'm
first.
thinking meeting with council first, so we
Make
have
sure
an
we have
idea of,
their
what
support.
council wants
I
us to
see,
do.
okay,
And then
that
going
makes sense.
to
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
getting the ideas set into an actual plan.
I think
I don't think council needs to deal with
no,
the
I
nitty gritty.
think that's very wise, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, so we can look at, maybe Jeff can look at some schedule times.
Yeah, we can.
going
I know.
forward. Okay.
I know it's gonna get a little tough with council not meeting.
But if we have to do the facilitator first, we've got some time.
Yeah, we do through June and,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
I thought it was
No,
going to be
the other way.
the regular
Oh, I'm
meeting
sorry.
first. Yeah, I think
Still
it's
got some
our
hurricane
regular meeting
brain
first,
here.
then the-
Yeah, so it'll be a little bit, because I think the council doesn't meet in July.
Correct.
But I think this council, given the hurricane situations, the question is who's in town, and if everybody's in town for a particular date in July, I'm sure they'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
But Danielle's probably a good person to try to track all that.
Exactly what I'm gonna go to.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So we've got clarification on that. Just a point, as you were giving your report, Jeff, you mentioned the AV equipment. I do believe there was funding set aside to get all of that updated and the new production video done, and I don't think that that was ever done, or the larger screen was
I thought
never.
it was done,
Oh,
right
it
before
was?
the hurricane.
Right before.
Was it?
We had the
Was
larger
it?
screen.
I know in our strategic plan, it did mention that, and it said it was completed, so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh, God.
like the week before.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it had just gotten
Wow, it
done.
had just
They did the
gotten
whole
done.
underground thing, the figuring about the angle of it.
Now, we still are in contact with the company. They did a couple of our pieces upstairs, they redid them, so hopefully it would be a smooth transition. They're out of Tampa, so.
Obviously, we didn't have the flood insurance cover a lot of that equipment. And obviously, there's no warranty that would protect us from that. Purchase that, since
It's
it was
possible we
such a
could do
recent-
FEMA funds since it was
Well, let's-
storm related.
Tidal Basin could tell you.
Yeah, I'll check with Tidal Basin, but I believe we could put that on emergency
Oh,
funds.
please.
Oh, that'd be
If we can,
fabulous.
let's see if we can get, oh, that's just criminal.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, we
because it was directly related to the hurricane,
Yeah.
so I believe Tidal Basin will just say, hey, do you have documentation on it?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have
Yeah.
pictures, do you have inventory, like they do everything else, and then we can just submit that, so.
Just submit what they did the week before.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Exactly.
There's so much of that on this.
The only thing with that, and just so everyone knows that it's pretty much has to go back, and it's
Sure.
nice because it was modern, you know, it was already done.
Yeah.
It was just a week old that it has to get done like it was
Yes,
before, so
yes.
we can't be doing any crazy upgrades or anything like
Yeah.
that, but.
No, we just
That's
want
good.
it, just like all of us, we just want what we had.
When we want it.
Now. All right, moving on, the Friends of the Mount House report, Ellen.
The Friends of the Mound House, so a lot of what Jeff had to say, the Friends is integrally involved. So the Friends is going to be a part of the hosting for the Island Hoppers. So we will secure the what do you call it, liquor license and all of those kinds of things. And so we're working through all of that, and yeah, everybody's excited about that. One of the other things that we were working on this summer is two parts of Alex and Nina King's generosity to the island. Is they put out a challenge to the not-for-profits to come up with ideas to bring people to the island during the summer, and he will provide $2,500 to the successful people. And so we have an ongoing list we're floating around in email. Actually, it's generating a lot of really good ideas about things that we could do. And maybe a movie on the mound, maybe food trucks, maybe, I mean, there's a whole range of things that if we can figure out the logistics, maybe we can do that. But the whole idea is to bring people in here. So that's a work in progress right now. The other thing that the Kings just approached us earlier this week is they have some small antique items that they wondered if we wanted. And so I talked to Jeff, and we took them. They're very small little pieces, and we're going to hang on to them until next time we have an auction.
Which is when?
Well,
You are in charge of fundraising.
yes, we know.
Want to
Yes, we know that very well.
That's the big ticket question, is like,
Yeah.
okay, you're planning for another fundraiser.
We will, and we haven't come up with any kind of a time frame. I would
Okay.
suspect that if it was to be this calendar year, it would have to be really, really late. It's more likely to be in the spring of 2024.
Okay.
But we want to, yeah. We have some experiences doing this, so we know some where the pitfalls are that what happened.
Yes, exactly.
It just keeps getting better and better, is the thing.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think people have, I think they've begun to think about that as kind of the end of spring thing that we do.
Yeah.
Is we
Yeah,
have some.
yeah.
Do you want to talk a little
Christmas
bit
tree.
about the endowment? I'm just wondering what the status is of your endowment for the Friends.
Oh, I didn't, yeah. Jim just reported on that this
Yeah.
past month, and I didn't bring those notes with
I
me.
know, I didn't either, I usually do.
But we're
Is it-
working, it's over 50.
Just, oh yeah, easily. And then he just did that.
Oh, and the other thing, because interest rates have changed,
Yeah,
and
and
we haven't been
CD.
spending money, we were able to get a 4% interest rate on a CD, and it only ties the money up for, I think, until the end of August.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, Jim Steele is a
Terrific
terrific
guy.
guy.
Terrific guy.
He knows what
Yeah,
he's,
but he's doing,
yes, Yes.
Yeah.
We're very lucky to have him.
We were very lucky.
When we were
Yes.
setting up the endowment, it was really,
Yeah.
he provided a tremendous amount of
And I will say that our coffers are such that we have been able to kind of do some things on behalf of the Mound House, short order. And I guess we'll be stealing our own thunder, but we wrote a check to the Mound House for $10,000 to help underwrite buying inventory for the store. And so,
Go shop, everybody.
yeah, go shop.
That's it. Go shop.
But you know, we haven't gotten a lot of press about it, so we're talking about getting one of those large checks and presenting it to town council so that there's a photo op so people know we did it. Because we did it.
And some of the inventory is in already.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
So in retro, we'll go back and do our pat on the shoulders. Oh, here's the account. Oh, thank you, Adam.
Endowment.
The endowment.
Yeah.
It's, let's see.
It's not really on
It's not
that
spelled
sheet.
out there.
No, not on this one. This other one usually.
Well,
I
perhaps
just-
that can be a conversation.
We'll do that,
Again,
but it's-
Yes,
it's-
regarding the
I will make
endowment.
sure that the next
We
meeting
don't,
I
yeah,
have that
the
endowment
breakdown.
information. Yeah, because he has provided it, I just didn't, bring
And
it.
again, there's always some confusion as to what the Friends will be responsible for as a nonprofit organization, and the vehicle by which we're allowed to do the art and marketing grant, because they're a 501c3 and we're not, we're with the town of Fort Myers Beach, they can then be in a position of helping the marketing, helping staff with marketing. But with regard to programming, and that's a very key issue, is that staff does the programming, and then that programming schedule comes before CELCAB, so we review it, then it goes to council, because that's related to budget too, obviously. That becomes part of the packaging that council receives. When there's fundraising plans set, we look to staff to say, okay, what needs to be funded? What is this fundraiser going to help provide? And then the town staff says, well, okay, we have this and this and this project that we need funding for. And that's established at the outset. And then you all as Friends say, okay, well, I'd like to help fund this or this or this. But it is with staff direction that you come up with the programs so that then Friends knows what to do next. And I think that clarification, it just needs to continue to be reestablished, because, the Friends, or CELCAB for that matter, should never get the idea that we are responsible for creating and implementing. That's the staff's responsibility. That's what you all are paid to do as staff members. But we, as advisory board, can recommend to council the future programming, and you all, as the Friends group, funds it, whatever it is they've planned in advance. So it becomes, it's a collegial and all complementary, dovetailing each other's activity, but it is a sticky wicket as to who is responsible for what, right? So, okay, thank you. Anything more to report with Friends?
I think that basically, yeah.
And I think too, if everybody is aware that, oh yeah, about our Friends membership, Friends members and Mound House members, I think there's been some lagging behind in terms of, is my membership current, for example? And we still have if you sign on as a member, then you, for an extra 10, 15 bucks, you become a member of Friends. That's still on the website, right?
I believe, yes.
But I don't remember, I'm sure that I'm not a current member. I don't know how
They
many.
Well, we
Extended.
extended all of them,
Yeah. it's
all the
been
memberships
extended.
due to the hurricane.
By what, 6 or 7 months? I think it was?
At least six.
I think we did 7 months.
7, yeah.
Okay, so you will let us know when we need to
Yes.
pay you. Okay, that's okay.
And I will say, 'cause I think I mentioned
We'll let
this
you know,
last
don't
time,
worry.
Florida, our light is not even good.
and actually it's this TDC funding, because there was a line item in that, the grant for that has to be spent this calendar year is the Friends helping underwrite the website upgrade. So there's a small committee that's been meeting and came up with a final proposal that's getting turned over. So Adam and Karina on the staff side of that, and turning it into Jeff, and it's ready to send out for review. And because part of the issue is the website some of the functionality isn't as nice as we would like it. It's all sort of there, but you have to sort of dig, and we want to get it so you don't have to dig. So the whole idea of why do you care to become a member of the Friends and a member of the Mound House? Well, that's all explained, but the documents spelling that out are hard to dig into. We're going to fix that.
Right.
Good. Anything more to report, Ellen?
That will cover it.
Good, excellent. All right, member items and reports. So shall we start with Becky?
Oh, good, because I just have one thing. Talking about getting together and talking about Newton Park or our own strategic, all of our meetings are noticed and open to the public. And one of the things that was not mentioned, especially with the Newton Park strategic plan and what's going to happen to Newton Park, is input from the public. So I'm looking at Miss Wrigley Field hat person that I don't know yet, and thinking about them and this other person that you all know and love, and you know, bringing the community in, which you are really good at when the hurricane is not swirling around. Right? How long can we use that as an excuse, do you think?
Oh,
A long
I think we're done.
No, in Miami, they still use Andrew,
Well, there you go.
All right.
30 years later.
Anyway, any council meetings, any workshops, those sort of things are all noticed, and the public is always invited, and we are
Indeed.
always asking for input. So
You
there
bet.
you go.
Yep.
And you can join the groups too.
I'm in the board now, so I.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Okay.
If I could on that, Becky, just, it's such a great point. When we do have our strategic plan workshop on the Mound House and Newton Park, if you could somehow have staff connect with someone at Ocean Harbor Condos who's right across the street, you have an army of people there who care about Newton Park, and they have a newsletter that if they could notice it in their newsletter, I bet we get a lot of involvement from that Ocean Harbor group. Karen Swanson, who's a local realtor, lives at Ocean Harbor, she could connect you to the person who does the newsletter, and Swanbeck. Swanbeck, sorry. And I just think that's a great I'm sure there's a lot of neighbors around too, but it's easy to, Ocean Harbor does have a newsletter, you can just say, hey, if you're interested in Newton Park and they're gonna have a strategy session.
I've gotten quite a few calls from
Good point.
them.
Yeah.
Really?
Just wanting to reiterate that it's not going to become a parking lot.
I'm sure they'll.
I've assured them, yes.
Yeah.
Find out who does
It
that.
will be free, no.
Yeah, see who does that newsletter now and see if they'll connect you with that person, so we can do a little blurb in there. It would be great to get them involved, so if we decide to do swing sets and we want to raise money, somebody wants to donate a swing set in the honor of their grandchild or whatever, then you've got this great reservoir of people at Ocean Harbor that really might want to.
Or do they have better ideas than, swing sets?
They may.
That's my idea. That was not my vote.
There you go.
Somebody gave me that idea, that was not my idea.
No, we were doing swing sets, we were
Yes, we
looking
were.
into them, so.
And they were nice, they were different, remember they were the
They were,
artists.
they were
Yeah.
very
Like
pretty.
artistic, yeah.
Very good.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt, but I think.
No, you go ahead anytime.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm done.
Good point. Sherry?
I don't really have much. We've covered everything with the friends and stuff, that we will be having the Christmas tree festival here, which I
Great.
think is nice. And I understand we're doing it outside. Is that right?
They had a meeting last Friday. I don't know. Did you catch anything from them? No, I haven't talked
They don't
about
know yet.
specifics, but it sounds like it might be inside and outside.
Oh, okay.
I would suspect it would be inside and outside, because the decorated trees, that would be difficult.
Yeah, they
Well,
go
that's what I'm thinking,
Yeah.
and I had heard that, so.
I do
so
know they
that's,
asked to do it, like, put trees on the porch level, and I just, with that being emergency exit, I don't know if that's gonna work.
Yeah, okay,
Ooh,
okay.
yeah, good
Yeah,
thought.
Very good thought.
yeah, but that's
Yeah.
always a big
Yeah.
event, so. Otherwise, you covered everything that we've,
Yeah, and I think I've spoken my piece.
yeah, so.
Actually, I have a question, because I think I read in the minutes from actually a year ago that there was some issue with regard to our moving forward with the Loop Road sign, which we determined in a vote was going to be very small and what was the word? I think appropriate in terms of the scale of this sign, modest, I believe, might have
Yes,
been.
I think so.
Yeah, modest, that's
Yep, yep.
So, I don't know if there are any efforts, was there something that Friends was, that they weren't pursuing that good?
No.
Because
No.
then it's just a question of
It's not a
staff.
review.
We
Yeah.
just-
Yeah,
it's not-
so that is
No.
what I understood was to happen, and we just, I remember we voted on, yes, it was okay for them to put the sign up, but it was going to be very modest in nature. I just wanted to know where we are with that.
I bet way down the road on that one,
Yeah,
thinking
Yeah.
about all the street signs,
Oh,
exactly,
yeah,
oh, yeah, exactly.
which should come first, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I know we did talk about it at either the last one or the one before that, so it's still fresh. Yeah, it's just gonna be a little bit,
But, I mean, it's not anything that's on my front burner item, but I can tell you, I don't want to lose sight of it, but,
Right.
let's just bear in mind.
Just for
that-
Jeff's purposes, was it circle? Did we?
Loop.
It was loop, that's it,
I think
yeah.
it was loop,
Use
yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah, you might want to check
it's
on
not
that.
really a perfect circle, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
has a little wiggle room.
Yeah.
And I have nothing to report. How about you? Betty, what do you have?
Well, if anything good came out of this hurricane, I think it's our getting back to things like the strategic plan, although we thought we were doing fine on that. And then we have this huge incident and we realize we aren't up to date. And so I think that goes for both Newton and for
Agreed.
the Mound House. So I just thought, I'd like to have something positive come out, that, okay, so we're gonna do something about it.
Lori?
Little segue, if everyone doesn't mind. It's still so sad every time I drive on Island. I cry every time I come on Island. And seeing that Publix is back is very hopeful. And that Goods is open,
Yes,
even though it's in a
yes,
trailer.
yeah.
Love it.
It's, it's
Urban
again.
Tackle is
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, so that's real good stuff for me. One other thing that I'd like to mention, if you know anyone who is still struggling with their house is intact, is going to at some point be livable, but they need help with some demolition, internal, whatever, not a major demo of the entire building, but some work inside or some restoration work. Unite Florida is still accepting applications, and it's just Unite, not United, UniteFlorida.com. So if you know anyone who has needs, please let them know. The money's there, the people are there, and it's a great thing that the state of Florida is doing.
Oh, excellent. Thank you, Lori, for that. Yes, Becky?
Well, I left all my notes at home, of course, and walked right by them and walked out the door. But actually, this is a follow-up on something, to tell you the truth, Hurricane Brain. I don't know if it was a Friends thing or a CELCAB thing, or which comes first, but we've been talking about some sort of recognition of Bill Grace. And to that point, Susan and I met yesterday, and we have come up with a preliminary idea. We're working on it, and we will present that to whichever body we're supposed to present it to. I didn't know if that's CELCAB
Oh, I
or
think so.
Friends.
That's definitely
Yes.
staff.
Yeah.
Staff first.
Yep.
Okay,
And
Yep.
we'll bring it up, it's okay.
and then you bring it to
Yep.
CELCAB.
I know
Okay.
it's been talked about quite a bit, so I don't,
Yeah, it's staff, and then it's CELCAB, then it's council, and then it's Friends. We should probably have an organizational chart
do
for
one for
us,
that too.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, excellent. Thank you
Sorry,
for bringing that up.
sorry.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Susan. Yeah, great idea, great idea. Do you have anything
I'll
to
just
report?
piggyback on what
Wonderful
Lori,
Vice Mayor?
piggyback on what Lori said with the great news of Publix opening this morning. I was there this morning, the store looks immaculate. It really hasn't changed all that much, except it's just perfect, it's clean, everything is just super organized, and it looks spectacular. But to Lori's point, the other couple pieces of news which aren't as timely but coming, CVS is applying for their permits this week, and they should be open before the end of this year.
Wow.
Their
Okay,
target is December, and 7-Eleven is plugging along, and they see their first store opening would be the southernmost store near Santini Plaza in the next month or two. They don't have to tear that particular building down, and they would be selling gasoline there at some point as well. So that's for the next couple months, I would probably say, for 7-Eleven. So that's encouraging.
Good. Oh, it certainly is.
Excellent
Yeah,
news.
and then lastly, I mentioned this last week, but I'm still fascinated by it. A lot of people are still trying to fish down at the North Bridge, at the fishing pier, which has been destroyed by the hurricane. And the fishing, I'm told by our harbor master, is terrible there. And the fishing at Mound House is the best fishing on the island. And he said legitimately, the real smart fisher, men and women, fish off that pier. And not only is it beautiful, but there's real fish there. It's a great
Don't catch too many. That's my break. I walk and go look at the fish that are eating. Yeah, there's a lot down there. There really is.
That's great.
And do the Fisher people clean up after themselves?
They have been doing a great job.
That's good.
There's been a few things, here and there, but our staff have done a great job of going out right away in the morning and making sure everything's tidied up, and nothing major. Maybe
That's
just,
wonderful.
you know.
Good.
For sure, I haven't seen a whole lot of fishing line, which is great. So that's one of the main things. We can clean up kind of some fish stuff, but yeah, as long as that's not getting in the waterways, which is great.
Very good.
That's all I have.
I also have to mention, Vice Mayor, a number of months ago, soon after the hurricane, you made a statement, you prophesied that within a year, this will be a functional paradise.
You did say that.
And I'm holding you to it, and darn if it isn't happening.
You bet.
Publix, CVS, 7-Eleven,
You bet.
it is a
Thank you.
functional
Your
paradise.
hotels should all be open, and I think the other challenge, of course, is it's interesting to see. I thought the condos would be the first to open,
No.
but they're having supply chain issues
And permit issues.
And
permit
issues.
insurance issues, and so that's challenging. But the hotels, the businesses, and all the essential services should be ready for next season. But I think most of the condos will be open by the end of the year, but there are a number of them that are wrestling with some real challenges. But it will be very close next year. Yes.
That's wonderful.
And permanent, yes,
Not very
absolutely.
many people believed you, but it is happening. That's remarkable.
You just want to maintain not a false optimism, but if we're so pessimistic, then our regular visitors start going elsewhere and they start developing memories
Oh, yes.
of where they start going. Then they have a hard time coming back again.
That's true.
And it's so
Take
important to
long.
keep that momentum going. And obviously the opening of Margaritaville at the end of the year will help
Yes.
create a sort of a beacon of energy as well.
Yeah.
And that'll be interesting because I think it'll make the island a little less cyclical. In other words, they'll have guests year round and it won't dip as much in the off season. There'll be some dipping,
Good.
but I think it'll give a little bit more, because the businesses this summer and this fall, it'll be the hardest of the hard, because
Yeah.
you can see the island's quiet down demonstrably. There's obviously a lot of construction workers, but our local restaurants and shops, they really need people to buy local right now, because this summer and fall is going to be tough. Starting next season again, I think things will really begin to turn
Pick
around
up again.
permanently, but boy, this summer and fall is going to be tough.
Yeah. Jim, how about town hall? Is there any?
Town hall's it's a great question, Sherry. We finally got the final sign off from FEMA to tear it down.
Okay.
So we're expecting in the next week or two for it to be formally torn down. And there's
Wow.
some discussion with the fire department where we would switch the fire department has the Tops property,
Right.
where we have our temporary trailers right now, and they've been kind enough to let us sort of live there.
They should.
But there's some discussion of switching properties. Because the fire department is intrigued by the town hall property, and it has a nice canal access for them if they decided to do a fire boat. And then it gives the town a better access to Bay Oaks and all of our facilities.
Right.
But it also gives the town enough space where if we decided to build the town hall right there closer to the front of Estero, we could keep the trailers in place while we were building and not have to move them over to Bay Oaks and
Great.
allow the baseball fields to open up. And so there's a lot of conversation going on.
Huge.
Yeah,
Thanks.
so,
That would be great.
but it's still a little bit fluid, but I think that's the hope and plan at this point.
Sounds good.
And we're also should hopefully very soon be getting word from the state. Since the legislature didn't do a line item, we should be getting some word from the state soon about our lighting, permanent lighting.
Good.
The temporary amber lights are going up right now, I think 131 of them. They should be done by the end of this week. And it's not a great solution, but it's an interim solution. But the new permanent solution will be amber, but they'll be demonstrably brighter than the temporary ones.
Okay.
And it'll be a consistent lighting solution up and down the island. Obviously, we've all been debating this for years, but I think finally that could come to fruition, assuming the state helps us with that funding plan. So,
Excellent.
yeah.
Great. Thank
Great,
you.
thank you.
That's
Well,
wonderful.
thank you. Good to know.
We have our date that we need to set for next month for our regular CELCAB meeting. And bearing in mind that we don't want to exclude visitors from coming when we're in fact open as a museum. So what date would be the best? And maybe, Jeff, do you have to look at your calendar?
Yes, I will do that right now.
I don't want to meet here when there is, when visitors are, when it's open to the public. That's the
Right.
bottom
When I'm
line.
presenting.
Yeah, well, there you go. Exactly.
So we're looking at the week of,
How about June 21 or June 23? Are we meeting that sooner, or are we waiting?
No, I think we're
That's
going to be
good.
meeting every month and we'll
Okay.
make it as a standard
June
meeting
21st?
time.
that's
You're-
a
That's a
good day.
Wednesday?
So
That's a good day.
And we've got the French meeting
Not
that
for
day.
you.
I'm grandchildren in it, whatever, until I'll be back I will be here and available to meet on the 23rd, which is that Friday.
How about the
I wanna do
23rd,
Friday. Friday's not a good
Not a
day.
good day.
No,
Well, then
Friday's
you
not
should have
a
me-
good
What
day.
day did you say,
What about
Jeff?
friends?
Either the 21st or,
But that's it too,
Yeah.
that
Wait.
The Friends is meeting at 2, so the
Yeah,
Friends
we
could
could still meet at
before
3
and
here.
meet
Before.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And then I'll
3
do
o'clock?
three.
Wait, 3?
What day?
3 o'clock? The 21st, Wednesday the 21st?
Yep.
June
Yep.
21st?
But you won't be here.
Yeah, it's gonna be back-to-back Friends and then this.
Okay, so June 21st at 3 p.m.?
Yes.
at 3.
3 p.m.
And
And is
And
that
then
a
Friends at
Tuesday?
two.
What's-
Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday, okay, fantastic.
So no pressure, Ben, to getting that meeting over by 3
Yeah.
o'clock.
it'll be over by 2.
There you go.
But it'll be over by 3, excuse me. It starts at 2.
Okay, so the
And
next...
it'll be here, right? Yes.
Yes, at the Mount House. Wednesday, June 21st at 3
Yep.
p.m.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
And based on our conversations today, we're going to set the agenda for the following meeting. And in the meantime, maybe Jeff can provide us with a workshop date and time to meet with council. And you can just email that to us
Okay.
going forward. And I just want to I'm just hoping that Joyce Sullivan got a lot of her questions answered after our, right?
I'm just glad I was here.
I know,
It's
right?
very interesting.
Because I know you were concerned about Newton, and goodness gracious, we did have a long conversation about it.
Yes,
So, hope all that worked.
Could I ask her what she would like from the public, from your standpoint? What
Well, you
you would
know,
like to see?
honestly, I was gonna say something, but I thought I think we should do a survey or some way to gather information, not just from the one condo association, but that park is used or was used just by tons of people. I mean, day trippers came in, so it's not just island people, you know?
Yeah.
And
Because the
I
parking
just
is
feel
good.
like there's gotta be a way to, one, communicate the mission, because maybe some people don't know that it's an educational property. I kind of really didn't know that either, and I've been around for a while. But I think that somehow if we can communicate, here's our mission, but within that mission, what would you like to see?
And
give
recreation
some-
is part of the mission.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and that's what a lot of people use it for,
That's
And I
good.
think safety is a concern.
For sure,
There's
sure.
some homeless issues
From
there.
in there? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Look at that. Oh, it's huge. Would you like
Oh,
to see?
before.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
not
yeah,
now.
yeah. I
No,
was
no,
like,
no,
I'll
I'm
take
talking
care of that.
about
Yeah, I'm aware of that as well.
Yeah, there's people
Before.
sleeping in the bushes,
Yeah, that's
Oh, yeah.
why, some open air or something might be a good
That's
option.
good, yeah.
But it's also an attractive nuisance.
It is,
Well,
yeah.
still.
Yeah, I know
They'll
our
be in the
guys were
mangroves
kicking them
off your-
out,
I mean,
asking them politely to
they'll be
leave.
around.
So it's a survey that had some general categories, so
Or,
it was
yeah,
a
I
blue
mean,
sky.
sort of give people a guide, but there's,
Who do you send it to and how do you get the
I don't know.
Joy, that's a great point. About a year ago, the Public Safety Committee conducted a survey through the town about priorities for public safety.
Right.
Yeah.
And I filled that in.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
It was practical to give people a sense of where the emphasis was. So I think Don Thomas, the chair of public safety, would be a good resource, or somebody at the town helped facilitate. Maybe Jenny was still here. Maybe Jenny was here at the time when that was conducted. I do remember the discussion of the challenges around Newton Park, because I remember as we talk about the Publix opening today, Publix came about 2.5 years ago. I was just newly on the council for a liquor. They wanted to build a liquor store next to their store, and many of the neighbors had serious concerns about it. And Publix did not do a great job of assuring people that public safety would be a strong emphasis of that new liquor store. So it was denied at the time, because of course everybody really wanted a pharmacy there, not a liquor store. And so that was a bit of a challenge. But I remember a lot of the neighbors came out with concerns about that public liquor store based upon the proximity of Newton Park to and the lack of security and so forth.
That's right.
I realize that I bypassed public comment, so I'm going to digress a minute to ask if there's further public comment. I know Joy's already given her, but is there anybody else that would like to speak? Okay, I just want to make clear that we're good. If there is no public comment, and we've definitely set our next agenda date and time, then we can vote to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, Becky, second.
I will second.
Ellen is seconding. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Meeting adjourned. Thank you all very much. And it is 4:37.
Very productive meeting.
Yes, it's very good.
Yeah.